Hello again, I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to do a watercolor painting, and it's a painting of a place I visited recently in the Rocky Mountains National Park. It's called Calypso Cascade Falls. So it's a waterfall that we're going to try to do today, and thought I would try to put it on video. I took some nice photos. I actually did a study while I was there, a small study. And I have a good photograph of it, and talk to you a little bit about how to paint from photographs, because it can be fairly deceiving. It can be a little hard to get the right colors in some cases, and when you see the photograph of this particular waterfall, you'll see how dark it is. We were kind of in the shadow where I took the picture, but it had some nice bright sun hitting the water. But that can be deceiving when you try to paint it, and so I will talk a little bit about that as I go through the painting. But I'll show you the photograph, and then I'll show you the watercolor study that I did while I was there. And I didn't do it on location. I did it when we came back from a hike we were on, my wife and I. And so hopefully you'll like it. We're painting today with the set of Sterling Edwards brushes that I've shown you before. They're on the beginning of this video as well. I've added 2 or 3 other brushes here that give me some smaller brushes. These are from American Painter, so I'll go through those in a minute. Also, the paints we're using are from My Mary Blue, which is an Italian transparent watercolor that I like to use on some of my paintings. And the paper we're painting on today is Fabriano Artistico 300-pound cold press. The size is 11 by 15, and we're painting it in what's called portrait format, which means it's taller than it is wider, narrower than it is tall, I should say. So this is the typical way you would photograph a waterfall that's very tall. So we'll get into some things like how to make water look real, and how to make it look like it's rushing down these waterfall as it's cascading down this waterfall face. So with that said, let me go through quickly the brushes. I don't know if I'll use all these brushes or not, but I certainly have them available. I have a medium Sterling Edwards brush. It's like a 1.5 inch bristle brush that is unusual for watercolors, but that has some very neat effects. A little bit smaller one, it's a 1 inch brush. Then I have some nylon brushes that are flats. We have a 1 inch flat, I have a 3/4 inch flat, 1/2 inch flat, and a 1/4 inch flat. 1 inch, 3/4, 1/2, 1/4. Then I have a couple of rounds from Sterling Edwards. One's a number 12, one's a number 8. And then I've added a couple of these American American Painter brushes, a number 10, a number 8, and a script liner, number 4 script liner. I have a script liner from Sterling Edwards, but it is larger than the number 4, so I like the number 4 better. Let me go over the paints very quickly. Again, they're on the front of this video in case you missed them here. We have a dark neutral tint, cyan blue, ultramarine blue, deep, ultraviolet, crimson lake, garnet lake, cadmium red, burnt sienna, raw sienna, yellow ochre, cupric green, golden lake, lemon yellow, and primary yellow. On the inside row, I have burnt umber, sap green, Auvergne orange, primary red magenta, and still to green brown. So with that said, I think that's enough of the description. Let's get going on this thing. I'm going to pick up my brushes here and get them laying down below where I can get to them easily. But as usual, I'll start with putting clear water on the paper to get some nice soft edges at the top. So let's get going with the clear water here. I have a sketch, as you can see, and it's fairly basic. It's not a very detailed sketch. I don't want a lot of detail in here. I'm going to try to make it fairly abstract in a lot of areas. Paint around the areas that I'm going to leave white, which is where the water is going to go. and just fill in this top area here with clear water. See down here, a little bit here. Got rocks. There's a lot of rocks in here, so we'll be able to work on rocks today. Work on water, work on waterfall, work on some nice soft abstract areas at the top of this painting. The photograph is really dark on the top. It has a lot of, when I print the photograph out, it has a lot of black in it. And if you notice the study I did, I had very little black, very little dark in it. So I didn't paint exactly what the photograph was telling me. I took some artistic liberties to sort of lighten the painting up, if you will, so that it wasn't so dark. Okay, let me see. That's pretty soft now, pretty wet. And we're going to start here in the back and the top. I'm going to make myself some of this, mix me up some yellows and some raw sienna here for the background. I'll change it with some blues and some other colors and greens. I'll be adding some green in here. When I add some blue on top of this yellow, I'll start getting green, of course. So let's start putting in some just light colors back here. There is sun shining up here. There was a little blue sky even, but it was almost obscured by the dense forest all around this waterfall, and you can see a little blue up there at the top, but not much. So I'm going to take just a little of my ultra blue here and stick it in my palette now. Start getting some green color in here. Don't want it too heavy, but we'll just start putting in a few spots of blue that may show through, may not show through. But I'll start darkening the green down now as we go. Get a little darker, get a little more yellow, a little more blue. Throw in a little sap green to give us a different color. Pick up the other blues. I have two blues, a cyan blue and an ultra blue. One has more green in it than the other. So I'll see if I can start putting a little bit of that in up here in some of these areas. Some more yellow. This is just sort of background stuff. I want it to be very abstract. Put some ochre in it. The ochres will give us some nice color over here. While it's wet, you want to get these colors on because this is the time to do it. This is the time of leaving them very soft, nice. Come back and mix a few blues in here and there. I'm painting vertically, as you can see. Not many watercolorists paint this way, but I do it because it's easier for me to video the painting process here, and I don't have to have overhead cameras and a lot of extra expensive gear to I grab it. If it starts running too far, I just grab it with my brush and pick it up with a dry, thirsty brush. Like this. Okay, that's a pretty good start. I'm going to start going back and adding a few more darks now. A little darker in some areas. Get an olive color. If you want an olive color, you can use this you can use this neutral tint and mix it with any of your yellows, and you'll get a green. If you mix it with ochre, yellow ochre, you'll get an olive color. And you can get several colors of olive with doing this. Again, I'm just layering on some more colors here, keeping streaks sort of vertical. Painting around the area that's going to be either rocks or waterfall coming down here. Something like that. A few places where it's going to be a little darker, but primarily I'm going to keep it light, much lighter than the painting. A little still to grain brown here. Just throw it in and let it blend with whatever's there. Some brown over here. Some burnt sienna. Some of my paint is fresher than other paint, so I end up with a lot of paint on my brush, which I don't really intend to get. Get a paper towel here, get this out. A little burnt sienna over in some of these areas. So I'm using this big 1-inch brush, and I'm going to try to stick with it as long as I can, and hopefully get some nice colors in here, get some nice blues and greens and yellows. Pick up a little more ultra blue and start coming back in some of these areas here and put in some another layer. Every time you can go over this and you can get it to show a different color, you're putting in another layer of depth in this painting. So you kind of want to pick your areas where you have some nice looking. Paper's getting a little dry out here on this edge, so I can just touch it with this brush and leave some nice things that look like pine trees standing out there. Go back and put a little bit over here. At a certain point, I stopped really looking at the photograph. I stopped looking at my study, and I just start reacting to what's on the paper here, because this is what I'm trying to do. I got some areas here that I need to lighten up just a little bit, so I'm going to blot it out with my paper towel. It's actually water. The waterfall actually starts right about here, so I want to make sure I have room for that. I don't have it covered up with too much green paint or other paint. Okay. Take a step back, look at that, see what it's looking like. It's looking like I've got a lot of nice color in there. Different colors. It's a lot different than the photograph. But that's what an artist has to do to actually turn a photograph into a painting. These are some rocks. I'll come back and restate those with some darker colors after a while, but let's just put in a few more things here. And you can actually start, as this dries, it still has a lot of water in there. It's really glistening. I can see the light reflecting off of it. So it's not ready to do a lot of negative painting yet, but I will do some negative painting here in a minute. And start painting around some of these colors. And we'll be defining some trees. Back here, let's see, pick up some of this neutral tint. Start coming down over here with that. There's a lot of rocks and things in here. So let's just put in some abstract shapes again. Right here I start getting more brown. If I mix neutral tint with one of these browns, I'll change the color of gray from a cool gray to a warm gray, or a warm brown even. So some of this area here is going to have some, got a log that's sticking out here. I'm going to try to paint around. Another log down here. So just trying to make some abstract shapes. You start to see the waterfall coming down here. Even though I haven't painted any water in it, it's starting to show up. And just by touching this brush, I'm able to make you think there's trees back there. It's all about optical illusion. Okay. While that's drying, I'm going to come down and start picking up get a little bit of this ultraviolet here, and start putting in some of the basis for some of these rocks down here. This is wet on dry now. I have the paper dry, and leaving room for a rock or two here. So let's just keep on this, filling out some more of this in the foreground here. Got big rocks around here. That's a nice. So there's that. I'll put some more over here. We actually have water coming on the right side over here too. It's actually coming through, breaking through an area of the rock and coming around some rocks. So we have some water that's going to show up over here. But I want to make these rocks look like something going on in here. We'll put soften it up in here. Soften that up with just putting clear water on the brush and touching back in there. A few browns back in here. I got some really dark still to green brown on my brush, and you see what it does when you put it on without enough water. Okay. Let's bring this down here. I'm really not even looking at the photograph or the study anymore. I'm just starting to look what's on the paper, try to see if I can turn it into something that looks more representative of what I saw when I was on this hike. So, photographs are good, studies are good, but when you start painting, you just have to start reacting to what's on the paper because you never know what it's going to look like. That's the fun of this medium. Okay, we've been going about 20 minutes here. This upper part is fairly dry. It's still damp. If I put paint in there, it's going to it's going to blur a little more than I want it to. So let's get the hairdryer out, and I will blow this dry. Turn my microphone off so I don't blow your ears out. Let's go. Okay, should be back online now. All right, so that's a lot with this big brush. I probably could do some more with these rocks in the foreground a little bit. Maybe I'll put a little more paint on those before I go back into the trees. But these are just start them out with sort of a gray, and some of these rocks are going to be purple. Have more purple in them. Some will have a little brown in them. But that's okay. Just tons of rocks. I'm not going to paint every rock that's in that photograph. I'd be here for 2 days. And I know you don't want to watch me do this for 2 days. Okay, something like that. Let's soften this top edge here. And that'll give us enough to work with. Okay, now, let's pick up a smaller flat brush. I'm going to pick up the 1/2 inch flat. And we're going to start working on some more on these trees with some more blues. I'm going to pull out some more of my ultra blue here. Very dark blue with a lot of violet in it. Pull out some yellows, primary yellow, a little bit of the lemon yellow. Lemon yellow is yellow with green in it, and the primary yellow is similar to a cad yellow. It has a little bit of orange in it, so it's not dead center yellow, but it's pretty close. And maybe some ochre, pull out a little ochre. So I'm just sort of building some colors in my palette here that I can mix and mingle. When I get ready to paint, I'll just come back to the palette and hit one of these colors and sort of use it as I'll mix it on the fly. I won't mix them together and get a lot of one color in the palette. If I mix that all together, I have one nice gray. I don't want gray. I want these different colors to show up. So I'm going to pick up some blue in my brush, maybe a little green, and we'll start coming back here and seeing if I can start putting in something a little darker. It's not really dark as I'd like to have it, so let's get it just a little darker. If you notice, these colors, they do lighten up when I dry this. These things really lightened up about 20-30%, so that's not unusual. Watercolors do that. Change the color, don't stick with one color very long in the same area. I'm going to paint around the tree here that's going to become evident in a second. So, negative painting, positive painting. Put a few branches out over this that tell the viewer you're looking at pine trees out here. So on the other side of this, I've got another little area that's going to have some dark around this tree trunk. Pull it this way and just sort of pull up like this. You leave something that looks like there we go, like this. Maybe another one there. Okay, and then just sort of abstract it out. There's some different colors. There's going to be a rock coming out there, so I'll let that alone. Over here I'm going to have another tree. I'm going to try to paint for you negatively. So down here. And we can have some more rocks and other things in there. Let's paint around the top of the rock. And I'll help show you the rock as well as the tree. Change the color, change the values. Okay, let's pick up some of these browns over here. So I've got another little tree coming down here. If you put dark around it, you will make the viewer believe that it is a tree standing there. Picked up some more blue there that I didn't want in my brush. Ultra blue on top of this. When you put it over something that's yellow, it does make it look a little green. So we have some dark areas here that I'll just keep going over. Got another log sticking out here. So let's paint around it. Like that. Now let's put in some dark things over here on the edge. So I've got some trees here, I got some light coming through. Hopefully that's looking like a real dense forest. And there's some really nice things going on in there. And we can add some vertical streaks here to these to sort of make it look like there's other trees back in there, other bushes. Something like this. So it's very just sort of abstract and not trying to paint very many specific trees. I'm sort of just feeling my way around here and letting it sort of blend together. Something like this. We've got this area here that we need to fill in. All right. I think I need a little more of this brown maybe in this area here to sort of tie it together. Like that. Okay. Don't get too much detail back there. That is sort of background, and you don't want it to be so noticeable that people spend their time looking up there. All right, I'm going to pick up some more of these colors. I'm picking up this ultra violet now, and picking up some green. So we'll start over here and sort of see if we can get some other trees in this side to look. This thing actually went off the top of the page, so I'm up top of the, right off the top. So I'm going to just do that. Leave some holes in there to make it look like you have some, looking through a forest. Changing blues. I don't want the colors on the right side to be identical to the colors on the left side, so let's put in some other colors here. And let's paint around some, maybe some trees in here like this. A little negative painting there, a little negative painting here. And just sort of let it blend out into nothing. This is where these brushes that Sterling Edwards has, these little bristle brushes. You can wet the end of them, wet the bristle brush. You can do this with any kind of an oil painting brush that you have that's got bristles, but you don't want too long of bristles. But you wet it, dry it out with your paper towel, and then come up here and just sort of blend like this. And you just sort of give yourself nice abstract edges, soft edges. And if you've ever watched Sterling Edwards paint, you'll see him use a brush like this a lot. That gives him some very neat effects in his paintings. Maybe you can do some over here even. Maybe this top needs to be sort of grayed down. It's a little bit too bright. So by just pulling this paint up and pulling it up, not scrubbing it, just hitting it once and getting away from it, I'm able to give some nice soft areas here. Okay, so now let's go back to our flat. See if we can start picking up some other colors over here, maybe of trees and stuff that's out here in this woods. This area was really had a lot of water and heavy rains last year. Some of this area in Rocky Mountains National Park was flooded so badly that trails were closed and you couldn't even get out here for some of these, to see some of these things. And when we were there just a month ago in June 2014, there was still a lot of snow on the trails. We actually had to stop and turn around a couple times and not go the full length of the trail that we thought we were hiking because the snow was so thick that it was just too hard to walk on, and we were neither one ready to take that on. There were a lot of people out there hiking, but we weren't interested in doing that much heavy-duty hiking. Got some good photos, got some good hiking in, but didn't go crazy. Too brown maybe. Let's lighten that up a little bit. Put some ochre in there. So I'm just making abstract shapes, leaving it darks in some areas, lights in some areas, painting around where these rocks are going to be down here. There's a little tree there I can maybe highlight. Over there on that side, I'll just throw in some paint, take my bristle brush and sort of blend it away. All right, stop. step back, look at it. We're doing on time, about 35 minutes. Okay, that's a pretty decent looking set of trees. I think I want just a little bit of dark on that right area, right edge, so that your eye doesn't spend a lot of time over here. I'm going to darken this up just a little, throw in a few darks in there. Like that. Come back and sort of blend it away a little bit. There we go. All right. That will do for a background, I think. All right, now we're going to start working on some rocks. And this brush, this flat brush, is probably as good as any to work on that with, because it's, you get some nice angular shapes, and got some good colors. I'm going to get some of this green color out of my palette, since I don't want a lot of green on these rocks. They do have some mossiness on them, but I really want them to be sort of purple and brown in color, gray in color, not a lot of green. So let's see what we can do here. Burnt sienna, still to grain brown, beautiful brown color. Neutral tint, ultraviolet. Okay, so there's the colors I want to sort of make many of my rocks out of. I may throw some blue in there as well, but those are the primary colors. So let's see, I do have this one area here, this one log that's right in here, sort of already laying in position. So I'm going to just sort of touch into the bottom, put a little shadow under there, help you think that's what that is. Okay, and then we have got some brown rock over here. This rock is going to have some nice color in it, but we're going to darken it down. Something like that. Take a little water in our brush and just sort of soften it back into here. Make it disappear. Okay. All right, put a few cracks and crevices in it. Crack or crevice in this one as well, but at the bottom, just put some shadows in here. Help you see more rocks. Okay. This way, we got some cracks in this rock back here. Combination of hard and soft edges help tell this story. If you want to round something out, you soften the edge. And so those rocks are starting to come forward now. Change our color. We're going to pick up a little bit of this purple. Rough texture. Rough texture is where you skip the brush over the paper and it leaves little bumps like that. Because the paper is cold pressed, it has a pattern on it from the cold pressing. And it will let your brush jump and hit and miss. and that's called rough texture. Okay. What else we got? We got some water that's running through this area. I want to try to see if I can make it look like that's what's happening over here. Change the color. Got a lot of areas where water is running all over these rocks. Okay, step back, take a look. So, gray rocks, purple rocks. See if we can get some just softer back here. That might be water over there. We'll just leave it that way. Again, I'm not looking at the photograph. I'm not looking at my study very much. I do look at the study sort of to get color information, but not for objects in the water. I'm reacting to what's here. So, put a little bit on, soften up the top edge, front edge. Just made another rock. Leave a little rough texture on top. It looks like the top of one or the bottom of the other. It doesn't make any difference. Okay, get some more ultra violet here. As we start down this way, we're going to put in, the rocks should get a little more defined as they come this way. Okay. Dark under here, pick up a little ultra neutral tint rather. So we've got water over here. And we'll make it blur and blend into these rocks. So, okay, making decent progress here. Take my brush and see if I can soften some of these edges. Okay. More paper towel here, more paper towel. All right, back to the other side. Let's pick up some other colors here. I'm gonna start picking up a little bit of my browns now, my burnt sienna. Like this. And soften it off here. We just start showing some putting this color in. I just helped that rock appear right there. It was there, but you couldn't see it as well as you can now. So come back and put a little bit of color on him. And use some clear water and blend the top out. And maybe at the bottom he's got a little more. So put a little blue in here maybe. Got blue in here and blue down here. Okay. Don't want this to be all one color over here. I'm going to change it up. Add a few more things there. All right. This rock here, I'll leave the top. Help define it this way. Some of these rocks were like stacked on top of each other, and some were rounded from all the water that's been hitting them for who knows how long. So I'm painting around another log that's sitting on here. Okay. Good shape. We're about 48, 50 minutes into this thing. So let's pick up some more violet with a few other colors in it and start coming below this. Okay, see the log? See, in the painting, this area over here was really, really dark. And in the photograph, this area was very, very dark. I've lightened it up pretty significantly. More rocks. Change the color. I'm switching between this ultraviolet and using a little of my still to grain brown or burnt sienna or a combination, and just sort of laying in these few rocks here. Alright, and because we're going to have water down here, I want to sort of soften these edges a little bit. Go back and soften this a little bit. Under here, make a hard edge soft by putting water on it. All of a sudden you've got a soft edge. And if you take your brush and flick it fast, you'll get a rough texture. Okay, keep plugging here. Little rock here in the corner, not much to do with him. We'll just sort of plop in some color on him. Leave him there, and then we've got this other several rocks here that still have like that. So many of these rocks are rounded because the water has just been beating on them for probably for decades, if not centuries. So we'll just leave them like that. Soften the edges. All right, getting down to the last few. More ultraviolet. Mixed with burnt sienna. Pick up a few more colors, maybe a little ochre in here to see if we can lighten this up a little bit. Ochre is sort of is a bit opaque. So when it goes on, it sort of covers whatever's under it. Okay, this last big rock here. Darker in the area that's closest to us, so I'm making it, if you want to make it look like the rock has a vertical face, you make it go down like this. Some of these other rocks have vertical faces on them too. that. Go back and soften this top edge a little bit. See if we can get just a little bit of color on there. Okay, I got one more tree to put in. The lower right side, I have another tree that's sort of laying, a dead tree laying in the middle of the. Done this whole painting with the 1-inch flat brush and a 1/2-inch flat brush. Haven't even used a round brush at all. I'm going to go back now and see if I can get in some color into this tree branch or tree limb or whatever's left over here from a tree that's fallen this way. Still degraded brown. So I just sort of paint it in here. This, and it goes off the paper, and it's got little things that stick up like this. It's got some dark underneath it, a little dark here. Something like that. Probably even extended out over this rock. That way it looks like it's sort of laying on that rock. And then put a few branches in here that are broken off. A couple up here. There's one, another one over here like this. Okay. Now, put in some details in some of these areas to make it look like we've got rocks that are piled on top of each other, or putting the dark areas in between these rocks, we can help define rocks that makes it look more real. Got this other tree up here I forgot, right here. So let's see if we can put some color on him. A few different colors, not the same. Pick up some darker colors. Sort of broken off at the end. This one's broken off at the end. Didn't finish it out over here. Okay, now let's see. Could just about leave it like that, but I want to put some definition in that water a little bit. There is. So I'm going to get my round brush out now. I'm going to get my number 8 round, and I'm going to start with, get some of this mud out of my palette, and get a paper towel. Okay, let's see here. Pick up some of this. I'm going to see if I can mix myself a little lavender color here that's maybe a little different than that violet that I've been using. That may be too dark. Pretty dark. Pick up the violet, put some in there. Using a little water, I can lighten that up a lot. Okay, so back in here somewhere is where this thing starts. So starts coming down. So let's just some light, very light color in some areas where it touches rocks. Try to soften it a little bit. See another rock back there I missed. I could put in a even at the top there was a sort of a something like this. Okay, so it's starting to fall down. You can make it look like it's falling down if you take your brush and sort of scrape down like this. Give it some rough texture and then some soft texture. Where it hits these rocks, soften it up. So the stroke again is telling us what's going on. And periodically we'll have a little plateau of some sort that it has to sort of ride over because it has multiple cascading areas. A little too dark, lighten it up. So I'm just sort of scraping down. Very dry brush. Very little paint in the brush, but there's enough that it sticks on this 300-pound cold press paper. It leaves nice areas that are just hit and miss over the top of that paper. Over there on that side, this is water too, so I'm going to make sure I carry that color over here so I don't end up with one color water on one side and another color on the other side. So we make horizontal streaks. Makes it look like ripples in areas where it might be not quite as frothy or turbulent. Okay, step back, see if I'm getting the look that I want. Yeah, that's looking good. Those vertical brush strokes make this really make the difference in this. So in here we've got some areas that are still coming down. Very frothy, very frothy. here it's probably not as frothy. Some blending together here. Soft areas, rough texture combinations. Sounds like I'm really scraping hard, but it's this brush that I'm using, this Sterling Edwards number 8 round, is sort of a synthetic bristle brush. So it is harder than a soft nylon brush or a soft brush made with fur, animal fur. So just a bit here and there. Okay. So I may mess with that a little more, but I think that's pretty much what I wanted to convey in this painting. And just to let you know that you don't take the photograph as the one and only source of information for your painting. You have to react to the painting as it's in process. You have to ignore some of the colors that show up in a photograph, because a photograph can only translate certain colors for you. There's some dark for the bottom of that rock to make some specific areas a little darker here. Like in this area right here. Underneath there. Keep messing, it'll get too busy and it'll won't look right. I want to just sort of okay, let me see, that water there is a little bit thick. I'll pick up a little, but it's going to leave a nice hard edge at the bottom of that. I need a little hard edge in a couple other places here. All right, I think, my friends, I'm going to call a halt to this and step back one more time to see if I can do any more fixing. But I think that's what I want to do today. And so I'll zoom back and say thank you for watching again, and hope you like this painting. Hope you give it a try, and if you have any questions, send me a comment on my YouTube channel and I'll try to answer them. And till I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Goodbye.